If you have been calling yourself lazy lately, I want you to pause for a moment. Because sometimes what looks like laziness from the outside is not laziness at all. Sometimes it is emotional overstimulation. Sometimes it is your mind and body saying, I have taken in too much. I cannot process one more thing right now. And if you are a highly sensitive person, an overthinker, an introvert, or someone who feels deeply, this can happen even on days that look normal from the outside. You may not have had a crisis. You may not have done anything physically exhausting. You may not have a dramatic reason to explain why you feel so drained. But by the end of the day, you feel heavy. You feel foggy. You feel irritated by tiny things. You feel like even simple tasks are asking too much from you. And then you wonder, why can't I just get up and do it? This video is for self-reflection and emotional education only. It is not a diagnosis or a substitute for professional support. But if you have ever felt completely worn out and secretly judged yourself for it, here are 9 signs you may be emotionally overstimulated, not lazy. The first sign is that small tasks suddenly feel huge. Not hard in a normal way, huge. Replying to one message feels like climbing a hill. Doing the dishes feels like too many steps. Taking a shower feels like a project. Making a simple decision like what to eat feels strangely exhausting. And because these tasks look small from the outside, you may start blaming yourself. You may think, this should be easy. Why am I making such a big deal out of it? But when you are emotionally overstimulated, your system may already be full before the task even begins. So the task itself is not the whole problem. The problem is that you are trying to do one more thing while your mind and body are already carrying too much. A cup is easy to fill when it is empty, but when it is already overflowing, even one more drop feels like too much. The second sign is that you feel irritated by things you normally tolerate. A sound feels sharper than usual. Someone's voice feels too loud. A notification makes your whole body tense. The light feels wrong. Your clothes feel uncomfortable. A small interruption makes you want to disappear. And then you may feel guilty because you know these things are not really big problems. But emotional overstimulation changes your tolerance. It makes ordinary input feel intense. The same sound you could handle yesterday may feel unbearable today. Not because you became difficult overnight, but because your system has less space left. When sensitive people are already overloaded, the world does not have to be extreme to feel like too much. Sometimes it only has to be one tone too loud, one texture too scratchy, one question too many. The third sign is that you want to be alone, but you may not know why. You might love the people around you. You might care about your partner, your family, your friends, your coworkers. But suddenly, even kind people feel like input. Even a loving conversation feels like something you have to respond to. Even someone asking, "Are you okay?" can feel like pressure, and this can be confusing, because needing space can make you feel cold, distant, or ungrateful. But needing solitude does not always mean something is wrong with your relationships. Sometimes it simply means your system needs fewer signals to process, no facial expressions to read, no tone to interpret, no need to explain, no need to perform being okay. Just quiet, just space, just enough room to come back to yourself. The fourth sign is that you keep scrolling, even though it makes you feel worse. This one can be easy to miss. When you are overstimulated, you may feel too tired to do anything meaningful, but too restless to simply rest. So you reach for your phone. You scroll through posts, videos, comments, messages, news, images, opinions, and other people's lives. Part of you is looking for relief. Part of you is looking for something soft. Part of you is looking for an escape. But instead, your mind keeps taking in more emotion, more information, more comparison, more noise. And after a while, you feel even more drained than before. That does not mean you are lazy. It may mean your brain is searching for comfort, but choosing a source that keeps stimulating it. Sometimes the reset is not finding the right thing to watch. Sometimes the reset is putting the phone down before your system gets even louder. The fifth sign is that you feel tired but not sleepy. This is one of the strangest parts of emotional overstimulation. You may feel exhausted, but when you try to rest, your body does not fully relax. Your mind keeps running. Your chest feels tight. Your thoughts jump from one thing to another. You replay conversations. You remember things you forgot to do. You think about what someone meant. You feel tired enough to do nothing, but not calm enough to truly rest. This kind of tired can feel frustrating because sleep is not always the immediate answer. Sometimes your system does not need only sleep. It needs safety. It needs quiet. It needs fewer demands. It needs time to process what has already happened. When you are emotionally overstimulated, rest may need to begin with reducing input before your body can actually soften. The sixth sign is that you become unusually indecisive. You cannot choose what to eat. You cannot decide whether to answer the message now or later. You cannot pick what to watch. You cannot figure out where to start. Even simple options feel like too many options. And again, this can look like laziness from the outside, but indecision is often a sign that your mind is overloaded. Decision-making takes energy. Even tiny decisions require sorting, comparing, predicting, and choosing. When you have already spent the day noticing, feeling, responding, adjusting, and managing yourself, your decision-making energy may be almost gone. So if you are standing in front of the fridge, unable to choose anything, maybe you are not being ridiculous. Maybe your mind is simply asking for fewer choices. In those moments, gentle simplicity can help. Not the perfect choice, just one small next thing: water, food, a shower, a blanket, a quiet room. The seventh sign is that you feel emotionally bruised by things other people move past quickly. A rude comment stays with you. A tense interaction lingers. Someone's disappointed tone replays in your mind. You witness someone being unkind, and it follows you for the rest of the day. Other people may say, just ignore it. But you cannot always ignore it. Not because you want to suffer, not because you are trying to hold on to negativity, but because sensitive people often process emotional tone deeply. You may not just hear words, you feel the atmosphere around them. You feel the sharpness, you feel the tension, you feel the unfairness, and even if the moment passes, your body may still be carrying it. This can be one of the hidden reasons a normal day becomes exhausting. Not because one huge thing happened, but because several emotional moments stayed inside you longer than anyone realized. The eighth sign is that you start shutting down instead of asking for what you need. At first, you may try to explain. You may try to say, I'm overwhelmed. You may try to tell someone that the noise is too much, the plan is too much, the conversation is too much, the day is too much. But if people have dismissed you before, you may stop explaining. You may go quiet. You may withdraw. You may lie down. You may cancel plans. You may stop answering messages. You may look like you do not care. But inside, you may care very much. You may just not have the energy to translate your inner experience into words someone else will accept. This is a painful part of overstimulation. Sometimes you do not need advice. You do not need someone to argue with your limits. You do not need someone to tell you it is not a big deal. You need permission to stop. You need enough quiet to hear yourself again. The ninth sign is that you feel guilty for needing recovery. This may be the deepest sign. You finally rest, but you do not feel peaceful. You feel guilty. You think about what you should be doing. You think about who might be disappointed. You think about how much more productive other people seem. You think, I should be stronger than this. But recovery is not weakness. Recovery is maintenance. Even machines overheat. Even phones need to charge. Even rooms need quiet after too much noise. And you are not a machine. You are a sensitive human being moving through a world that can be loud, fast, harsh, unpredictable, and emotionally demanding. If your system asks for recovery, that does not mean you failed. It means something in you is trying to protect your capacity to keep going. So if these signs feel familiar, maybe the question is not, why am I so lazy? Maybe the question is, what has been overstimulating me? Was it the noise, the messages, the social interaction, the pressure to respond, the harsh environment, the emotional tension, the small discomforts, the feeling of being misunderstood, the effort of pretending you are fine? When you begin asking better questions, your tiredness starts to make more sense. And when your tiredness makes more sense, it becomes a little easier to meet yourself with compassion instead of criticism. You do not have to earn rest by collapsing. You do not have to prove that your overwhelm is real. You do not have to keep pushing until your body forces you to stop. You are allowed to notice the signs earlier. You are allowed to lower the volume. You are allowed to step away. You are allowed to take off the uncomfortable clothes. You are allowed to delay the message. You are allowed to choose silence. You are allowed to need less. You are allowed to reset before you break. Emotional overstimulation can make you look lazy from the outside. But inside, there may be a whole storm of processing that no one else can see. So if all you can do today is move slowly, let that be okay. If you need quiet, let yourself have quiet. If you need to stop explaining for a while. If you need to rest, rest without turning it into another reason to judge yourself. You are not lazy for having limits. You are not weak for being affected. You are not strange for needing recovery. You may simply be overstimulated. And you deserve a softer way back to yourself.